Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to talk about letting go of the fantasy that we have of the narcissist so that we can finally heal. But before I get into that, if you would like to be notified of any more videos that I upload, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell and you'll be notified. I do upload videos quite frequently, and you will see playlists just for narcissistic abuse, and then I even have a playlist for quick questions about narcissistic abuse as well. And I have other playlists that you may or may not be interested in, but you can go ahead and take a look. Let's go ahead and get into the topic. I know personally this kept me stuck for a while. It really did. And talking to a lot of other survivors of narcissistic abuse, this was a big issue. And we were confusing it with something else. We were confusing being stuck on the fantasy of the narcissist with being stuck on the narcissist. And let me explain that. When we first meet the narcissist, they present themselves to be, our soulmate, our best partner. And we buy this vision. We believe it. It feels real, it seems real, but it's not. And then when we see who the narcissist really is, it's their false self that we have a hard time of letting go of because we wanted that so bad to be true. And let's take it even deeper. Before you met the narcissist, you wanted someone to come along like that. So they just provided the false image that we had already been desiring before they even came. So it's that much more embedded and ingrained in our minds when they come along. It's like, finally, I always wanted this and this person is here. And we take that and we run with it. And it's so hard to let it go when the narcissist reveals who they really are. And I find it even harder at times to let it go when other issues come into play that attaches you further with that narcissist. Let's say you guys have a child coming. So that fantasy of having the two-parent household or having the marriage and that togetherness, you feel like basically you have to let all of that go, and sometimes it's hard to let go of it. But with a narcissist, it's a fantasy. Unfortunately, it's a fantasy. And what is a fantasy? It's imagining things that are impossible or improbable, are basically less likely. Now that we're seeing who the narcissist really is, when that mask drops, it becomes a fantasy because they cannot actually deliver what they initially presented. It was never anything that they would be able to permanently or, even sustain for a long term. And that's why they go through these cycles of abuse. But it's never, when they come back to love bombing you and they maybe show you a glance of that fantasy person that you always wanted, it's always still just that, the fantasy. And it was hard for me to let go of the fantasy because I procreated with my narcissist. And after all the horrible things the narcissist had done, it was emotional to me because I grew up without my biological father. So there were emotions. It was like, oh man, so my child, it seems like my child is going to go down that same path. So, it was hard. I was trying hard. I was fighting against it, and I was conflicted because I didn't want that to be the case. But the narcissist is a very toxic person, and he had done some extremely toxic things to me. So it was very obvious that regardless to what I wanted it to be, what it is what it is. And as survivors of narcissistic abuse, we really have to just get to that place of accepting what it is and let go of that fantasy. That fantasy was all an illusion, and unfortunately, that narcissist is not going to be able to deliver it. Does it mean that you can't ever have that in your life? Absolutely not. You can eventually have it, but you won't get it if you don't let go of the toxic person as well. Because how can we make room for the new if we're still clinging on to the old? And particularly the old that is not serving us. It's not serving you for your greater good. You deserve that real love. But as long as we're holding on to the fantasy with the narcissist, we're not going to be able to get it. Let go of it and have faith that the person that will genuinely care for me on that level, I will eventually attract that person in divine timing. And I'll be patient until then. But I don't have to hold on to a person that pretended like they were going to give it to me. I will be confident enough. I will be secure in myself enough to let that person go and wait. I love myself enough to wait. I love myself enough to let that go. And that's the place that I want everyone to get to if you're not there. And if you are there, it's wonderful. Pat yourself on the back. I know that might have been very complicated in some cases. All right. So I hope this helps someone. If it does, go ahead and hit the like button. Please feel free to share any of my videos. People need to hear these messages because we get stuck. And this is one of the places, this is one of the big time areas that survivors of narcissistic abuse get stuck. We get stuck holding that fantasy of what we thought that narcissist was going to be. And we're hoping that, we can get it back to there somehow. This miracle is going to happen and they're going to actually be that fantasy that they presented to us. They're not. They aren't. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short. Always stay tuned. There's always more videos coming. And until next time, as always, take care.